too, we're talking about financing. When is the administration, when are we prepared to open up the Amtrak monopoly on passenger rail service and let the private sector compete in some of these routes? Are you ready?
We have not, to my knowledge, seen any specific proposals for that corridor.
Well, first of all, folks came in at the high-speed rail time. They wanted to do the Northeast corridor. They were summarily rejected with their proposals, and I'll be glad to give you folks. The Northeast corridor, this new member here from Connecticut, it's an embarrassment. 68 miles an hour from New York to Boston. The chairman who just left, he didn't want any mud splatter done today, he was stuck, he just told me, an hour and a half going up to Connecticut to visit John Larson. Here's one I got here. 261 passengers Sunday were delayed 14 hours. This is 14 hours trying to get from New York to Richmond. It took them almost a half a day to get there. I mean, this just the other day. I'm telling you, we have a Soviet-style train operation. The private sector will invest if they're given some incentive. That incentive is a return on their investment, and you're not prepared to do that.
Mr. Picari, welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Picari, you a little bit, as you were saying earlier in your testimony, that the nation has had to spend, looking at the aviation system, the highway system, for many years on an annual basis, has had to provide a baseline funding to support those transportation systems, and obviously that's the debate now for passenger rail. Are you concerned or worried about that maybe the subcommittee is a little bit too focused on privatizing passenger rail in the United States?
What we ought to focus on together is the need for mobility in America, for passengers and freight to move. That's literally what drives our economy. And when you're talking about any part of the transportation system, that ought to be the driving force behind it. Passenger rail is incredibly important to America's economy and its future economy as well. Expanding the passenger service that we have, both in emerging markets and in established markets, is a really important priority for the administration because we know that helps drive the economy.
Mr. Picari, on public-private partnerships, there's been examples of that. It would seem that the freight railroads, as you mentioned, they're the envy of the world, the biggest, most efficient, one of the most efficient networks in the world. Wouldn't they be the most likely candidate, the first candidate to consider for public-private partnerships with Amtrak, where that relationship could be built and yet dedicated track could still be set aside for passenger rail?
Well, as was pointed out in the hearing, much of the passenger rail service in America was inherited from the freight railroads that gave it up because it was not profitable. I think of passenger rail as a public good. It is truly a piece of infrastructure that serves the entire country. And while we welcome public-private partnerships, I don't think anyone is suggesting that public-private partnerships alone can fulfill that need.
Mr. Picari, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.